Welcome to End of an Era podcast. I'm your host, Elyse Fox, and I'm so excited for episode 1. Y'all do not know, this has been a labor of love in my mind for the past 3 years, but I've been actively in pre-production for about a year, a little bit over a year. Shout out to my business coach, Tori. She is incredible. She has a company called How to Fuck Up Well, and she helps young creatives, or she helps creatives and entrepreneurs navigate the struggles of leveling up. And I like her approach. I really do love her approach. I'm very much a Capricorn to the core. Like, I have to plan out everything down to the most minute details. And incidentally, Tori is a Capricorn. We actually share the same birthday. So I feel like we got each other on like a soul level, and she helped me bring this to life. So excited for this project to be out in the world. And to give you a little bit of background as to what you're listening to and what this is. This podcast is essentially a space where we can dive into the nuanced dread of every phase of life with enthusiasm and in community. So I want to have candid chats about like creative struggles, societal quirks, the moments that make us wonder, am I doing the right thing in my life? Should this thing end? Should I start something new? Should I fight for this one topic or this one thing in my life that I want to accomplish? Or is it just not for me? Does it feel good? Does it feel like home? All of these thoughts that we have as entrepreneurs, I want to have a conversation about the nuanced dread and really dive into the beauty of ending something. I do feel like, I know for myself for a long time, ending something felt like failure. It felt like something I should hide. I should cover it up with a win. Like, oh, I stopped doing this, but this came in return. Like, that's good to share, but I also think it's nice to really dive into the topic about why something ended and look at the beauty of it. Because in a way, if you understand or notice and can acknowledge that something needs to stop happening, shift, or pivot, that's beauty. That means that you're learning yourself, you know what you want, and you're being very intentional. So I want to have conversations about that. Yes, I get it. You're going to win. Things are going to happen. Obviously, when something drops, something beautiful, it makes room for something beautiful and bigger and cooler to happen. But let's talk about the moment where you don't know if you should take that next step. Let's talk about the moments where you feel like you are where you need to be. You did everything you were supposed to do, but you still feel like confused and lost and unsuccessful and maybe a little depressed. I feel you. Let's talk about that. So the end of an era is essentially just poking fun, but also discussing the nuanced dread of things ending. So I started this podcast for a few reasons. The first being, I am a creative at heart. You might know me from my nonprofit Sad Girls Club that I created in 2017. We provide mental health resources to the BIPOC community with an emphasis on Black women. I've been doing that for 8 years in February. Yes, 8 years. And when I started Sad Girls Club, I had no idea how big and how important it was. Like, not to even toot my own horn, but like, it is really important to have spaces like Sad Girls Club, like, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't realize how much mental energy, physical energy, and like my capacity would shift from being this active, like literally staying up all night editing films or watching films, dissecting color theories and all of those things, to like figuring out HR, how to run payroll, how to file a grant application, what is a Form 990, all of those things. So I lost a lot. I don't think I lost, but I just shifted my creativity, and that was put on the back burner to prioritize Sad Girls Club and that business. And over the past 8 years, that creativity did not waver at all. It actually is something that I've been missing. And it's so interesting. On my birthday a couple weeks ago, I was thinking about like how funny it is, which is not really funny. The thing that I created to boost the mental health of others has chipped away at my own mental health because I haven't had the space and the time to dive back into my creative pursuits. So it was just funny in that way. And it was also a reminder that like I am in control of my destiny. It sounds so corny. Oh my God, that was mad cringe. But I am in control of my destiny. If I want to do something, I have to just start it. If I don't like it, I could just stop it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure everything is perfect before I can drop it and move on to something else. When in all actuality, Sad Girls Club is meeting the needs. It's meeting a goal. Every year it's growing. I have an incredible team. I have support. Like, I can work on other projects and still maintain the integrity of Sad Girls Club. So I have to like lean into things that are going to make me happy. And that's where I'm starting with End of an Era podcast. The second reason is that like I want to share stories and learnings about my experiences as an entrepreneur. As I shared, I fell into entrepreneurship. I was always in a creative field. So I was, always sending in invoices and net 30s, net 90s, late pay. Like I was dealing with that part of it, but I've never really dealt with creating an actual corporation. Like I have corporations and trademarks and all of these things. So I want to just share my knowledge and things that I've learned to hopefully prevent you from making the same mistakes that I've made. I get emails all the time and I can not answer all of them, unfortunately, but I want to be able to share the advice that I do have on relevant topics. And then the third reason is that I want to create a space to chat through discomfort. Yes, we have therapy. Not all of us are in therapy, but it is important to have a space where you can share humor or share your perspective on humor about something that would bring you shame in any other scenario. I really want to just talk about like how we process something, how we process failure, how do we reclaim success, all of those things. So this is really a space for everybody. I feel like I'm a very modern parent where I don't do things the same way my parents did it. Even the way that I'm running my company is different than a lot of other companies, but it's mine. Like it's me. It's feels authentic to me, and there's nothing wrong with that. So you don't have to be just like me. You don't have to be just like the person that you look up to. But how can you be that version for yourself? That's what we're going to discuss on this podcast. So you guys, it is July. What am I talking about? It is January 12th, and I have yet to make a New Year's resolution. And I'm not mad at it because rewinding back to New Year's Eve 2023, I was in Ghana. I was on a brand trip with the skincare brand Topicals. And one girl who was on the trip, my girl Skylar, she was recording New Year's resolutions of all the guests. And she went around and she asked everybody what their New Year's resolution was. It was really private. It was so cool. And I said on camera, I was like, I just want to continue doing what I'm doing because it's been working. And then I watched the video and heard everyone else's responses. And I was like, mine was so mid. Like mine felt so mid. And it's so weird because I was thinking about like, how am I comparing my New Year's resolution to other people's New Year's resolutions? And it's not even New Year's yet. You know what I'm saying? Like it already started off with me having this unnecessary pressure on just me setting that intention. And that's such a strange feeling to have. Like my intention isn't good enough. Ugh, disgusting, gross, tomatoes. So this year, also, I felt like that was authentically true. Like I'm doing great work. I want to continue doing great work. I'm continuing to learn about myself. I'm continuing to shed parts of myself that I do not like. I want to be a better friend. I want to be a better companion. I want to be all of these things, better mom, all of these things. So I do feel like it was accurate. I just compare myself in that moment to others, which is such a weirdo thing to do on my end. And then this year, I told myself, I am not going to set a New Year's intention. I am going to ease into the New Year's. I am going to settle in. I didn't even do like my big New Year's Eve cleanup. I spent like a week before New Year's Eve in Jamaica. I came back and I was in my Zen mode and I just didn't. I just was like, I'm going to ease into this new year. It's another day. It's another day. And newsflash, it actually is just another day. And also, I didn't want to, I do feel like New Year's resolutions are interesting. I think this like, it goes into like time and place. There's one thing to like know what you want to do in the next year and set an intention there. But I do feel like when you are being too strategic in your own life, that is not the way that we're meant to live. I strongly feel that way. Our lives aren't supposed to be planned out to a T. Obviously, I have things that I want to do. Of course, I want my son to be successful. I want my son to have resources and outlets and community. But everything I'm doing on my day-to-day in my life every single day helps fuel that intention. So I just have like an interesting relationship with New Year's resolutions. So if you guys want to share your perspective on it, please help. Because I'm trying to like find the words, which is interesting. I should have found the words before I started recording. But I feel like it's just another way for us to feel bad about ourselves. And there are already things out there to make us feel our worst every single day. So if you're still easing into the new year, I'm right here with you. And there's nothing wrong with it. As long as you're striving to be the best version of yourself every day, you're working towards the goals to sustain yourself and to be successful and whatever that definition means to you, you're golden, shorty. You golden. I would say one of my goals for this, I guess like my life goal moving forward is to be less dependent on technology for happiness. And this stems from a book that I'm constantly like rereading and taking excerpts from and learnings. It's called Stolen Focus. It's by a British writer. His name is Johan Hari. And it's essentially a breakdown of humankind's ability to pay attention and the steps it takes us to think deeply again. We are in like a crisis where our attention span is dwindling year over year over year per generation, and there's really nothing being done about it. There are studies that show, yes, like how certain algorithms are built to distract us from our mind, like thinking deeply, being off of the phone. But I don't know how much, I mean, I'm sure there's studies that are going into like how our attention spans have dissipated over the past like 5 decades or so, especially in the past. I'm interested to see what it's like over the past 10 years with the rise of social media. But anyway, this is one of my favorite books. And I think that any entrepreneur, anyone who's a creative, anyone who uses social media technology or has an addiction to their phone, if you're able to admit you have that addiction, I'm not judging you, because guess what? I'm addicted too. And Stolen Focus is helping to pull me out of my own head. And one point in the book that stood out to me most was this definition called switch costs. And it's essentially the consequence or the cognitive penalty that we pay when we are interrupting one activity for another. So for example, say you have like 30 minutes to answer 10 emails, and you're like, okay, I got this, pretty easy. You're answering the emails, your phone buzzes. You stop, you look and see who messaged you. Okay, it was your mom. You go back to the task. You're working on another email. Your phone rings, scam likely. You look at it and then you take the time to ignore that call. Those 3 seconds it takes you to look at your phone, and then those 5 to 10 seconds it takes you to get back into the rhythm of that task, that's the switch cost. And that adds up over time. And that also is affecting our attention spans and our productivity as a whole. And I'm not saying productivity in like a capitalist way, like we're supposed to make as much money as possible, but I'm saying productivity even with our own personal lives and our personal growth. Like if we're constantly pulling away and jumping back in, we're never going to grow at a pace and a rate that we were 20, 30, 40 years ago. We're growing slower. So I've been really paying attention to how I use my phone and how it affects my life and my flow. And my son over the past year, he's become hyper aware of me even being on my phone. And he reminds me that I'm on it for too long, or if he's looking over my shoulder, I'm like, wait, I don't want you looking at this Instagram feed. So like, why am I looking at it in front of him? You know what I mean? Last quarter, I actually declined all influencer gigs. I think I just did one. And I wanted to really like not have to depend on my phone so much for work. Yes, I use it for work every day, research, whatever, but I didn't want to have to like be on my phone and do the, the comments. Like, I don't want to have to comment back on like a campaign. I don't want to have to be that involved. I don't want to have to collect analytics. I didn't want any of it. I just wanted to rest and to just breathe and to just give myself peace and grace, because if you're an influencer, you know that holiday is a very lucrative and busy time of the year, but it's also so stressful because the timeline is just so short. Like the timeline seems so short because it's for holiday, and once the holiday is gone, you're late, And then I took a step away from social media. I don't think I've posted since my birthday, but even before then, I didn't post for a long time. And I noticed I'm like, oh wait, I'm like having more intentional conversations with my son. Like not intentional, but like just deeper conversations with him. We're reading together. We're doing like parallel reading. He's learning to read now, but he's getting into it. And then he's like looking at me like, how are you reading without moving your lips? And like, you don't say anything. So it's just cool to like understand him in a way. But if I was on my phone, I wouldn't have these experiences. So I'm now at the point where I'm so comfortable not being on social media, but I need it for work right now. I have to sort out my balance and my rhythm. So if you have any tips for me on how to balance that or like come back on social media in a way that feels organic, holla at your girl, you feel me? So Johan Hari actually had some really good tips and tricks if you are looking to like deepen your connection with your mind, get off of your phone a little bit, and just really maintain the focus that's been stolen. And one way is to reform your inner thoughts. And essentially, if you get off track, like it's so easy to hear the buzz of a phone and then to look over, but reframe your inner dialogue. If I'm doing a task and I hear my phone buzz, I don't even look at it. I tell myself that message will be there. If it's that important, they'll call twice. That's it. That's my inner dialogue. And I don't even stop doing the task. Like now it's just like a constant, like the phone buzz is kind of just like, oh, a car drove down the street. I don't really acknowledge it. It's just like, okay, that'll be there. And then I also like to reflect on new insights, like what did I learn by not being on my phone in this past hour? Or what did I accomplish by not being on my phone for these like 20 minutes that I would have been just doom scrolling? And it's been somewhat helpful, but I can see if I am more consistent with that reflection, it will be more helpful. Social media breaks, of course, that is a no-brainer to get off social media if you want to get off of social media. Another thing is like leaving your phone at home. I don't leave my phone at home when my son isn't with me, but if my son is with me and we're going for a walk, I will leave it at home. Or if I'm out, or if I'm just running a quick errand and I know my son is like with my mom or with his godparents, I'm okay to leave my phone at home. And it feels so free. Like you actually feel so naked, like you feel naked without your phone. And it's such a strange thing because you shouldn't. But that's the harder one, especially if you're a woman. Also, set clear goals. Set like one meaningful, clear goal at a time if you want to focus. If you're someone who feels like they're like at the height of their game because they multitask, multitasking is actually the thief of focus. So focus on one meaningful goal. And that doesn't mean the biggest goal that you have in your mind. It doesn't mean raising $1 million in a year. One meaningful goal could be, I want to make my dinner from scratch tonight. Boom. That's your one meaningful goal. So everything you do hour by hour should impact or it should help with that one meaningful goal. It could be a weekly goal, it could be a monthly goal, but just having these like meaningful goals really, it attaches to like your own personal goals in a way where you don't lose focus as quickly. Push yourself to the edge of your abilities. You ever completed a task and you knew that you could have done more? Like, oh, I could have actually like, saying done a little bit better on that, but I did just enough. Try to do something to the edge of your abilities. And say, for example, you set a goal, you want to read more, you're reading 15 minutes every single night. You're reading, 15 minutes has passed, time to close the book and go to sleep. But you're like, wait, I want to see what's in the next chapter. Push yourself to read that next chapter. If you feel like you're excited about learning something new or you're reading or you're connecting to the story or a storyline, push yourself to just continue reading. So to wrap up, this year I am choosing creativity over consumption in a way that feels organic to me. Obviously, we have to use technology. Obviously, we have to use social media for work and connection. But just make sure you're doing it in a way that is healthy for you. Because doom scrolling is actually like, quite literally detrimental to your physical and your mental health. It actually, like when you are doom scrolling, like cortisol and adrenaline are released, which can lead to like physical and mental exhaustion. There are a lot of studies on it if you need more of a reason or convincing to leave technology alone or just to have a better relationship with it. And I want the best for all of us. So check out the book Stolen Focus. Author is Johan Hari. And let me know what you think if you check it out. Okay, before we conclude, I also want to share that this podcast is actually a vodcast and you can watch it on YouTube. My YouTube name is Elyse the Fox. It'll be linked somewhere on this in the description. And you'll also, aside from just viewing the podcast, you will also be able to see vlogs of myself hanging out, going to different events, seeing how I actually navigate spaces in real life. I feel like that is really helpful. Also, I'm a video girl. I love editing and shooting videos. So there'll be some like, of course, cool and creative ways to tell stories and bring in people and voices that I think that would benefit everyone to listen to. So I'm just excited. This is episode 1 of many. I'm so happy I got out of my own way and started this podcast. I hope that this resonated with you. And if you have any questions, if you want to, share any topics that are weighing heavily on your heart or you just want to know more about, like, please send me, because I want this to be a collaborative space. So at the end of each episode, there will be a mic drop moment where I share a quote or learning or just a thought. It might not always feel good, but maybe it is meant for you. And here it is. Maybe you don't have imposter syndrome. Maybe you just aren't in the right room right now. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for more End of an Era episodes. I'm your host, Elyse Fox. Bye.